Okay, finally, it took way too long, way too much procrastination, way too much making excuses about not getting down here and making some videos, but finally we're back, and yeah, a little bit of a new setup, got a little bit of a background, and yeah, I actually got a new light and tripod for Christmas, which is super nice to have because I'm no longer propping my phone up on books and relying on the ceiling lights to be enough. So yeah, everything looks much better. Everything looks good. And speaking of looking good, man, this quarterfinals that we have coming up for college football in the playoffs look fantastic. So much to be looking forward to. So many good matchups. So many key matchups. A lot to figure out. We're going to go game by game. We're just going to go in the running order of how they're going to be played. So we're going to go for the Friday night, or not the Friday night, the New Year's Eve game first, and then in time running order for the New Year's Day games. As always, if you are a sports fan, college football, NFL, and whatever you're a fan of, make sure to like and subscribe. New Year's, I'm going to be getting way more consistent. I've got some ideas, some things I want to start cooking up a little bit. I'm excited. I like this. I like the new setup. I like the new identity a little bit. I'm excited. But without further ado, let's get into matchup number 1. So for the first matchup, we have the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes against the number 10 ranked Miami Hurricanes. I was one of the people that was surprised to see Miami win their game against Texas A&M. I thought they would look good, but I didn't think they would have enough to get it done just because I think A&M going through the SEC, even though their schedule compared to a lot of other SEC schedules was a little bit weaker, they were a little bit more battle-tested, and they had gone undefeated for the entire year until they lost their last game to Texas, who Texas was really game. Texas is a good football team, losing games only to like Georgia and Ohio State, and then they had one other loss that I think was kind of bad. But regardless, you get my point. Texas is a good team, and that was a good year for Texas A&M. I thought they were going to look way better than they did in the first round, especially hosting going into that 12th man environment down in College Station. Miami played well on the defensive end. Neither team looked good on the offensive end, but I thought Miami did a really good job defensively, limiting Texas A&M, making sure that they didn't get their explosive plays off that they had gotten off all year, and they did it. They did enough to hold them to 3 points, and all they needed was 10 points and a go-ahead touchdown late in the fourth quarter, and then just a culmination on their great defensive effort. They got an interception. They sealed the game. Just a good defensive performance by Miami, but they're going to have to be a lot better if they want to survive this storm coming from Ohio State, and yeah, I like the word storm that I think Ohio State's going to be bringing on New Year's Eve night. I think Ohio State is going to be pissed off. I think they're going to be angry. I think they're going to come with some real urgency like, hey, we went undefeated, lost to Indiana, you took what was ours, and now we're coming back for it. I think Ohio State is going to play a really good game. Out of all the games on this lineup that we have, I think this is the most likely game to get out of control. If the Miami Hurricane offense struggled with what Texas A&M's defense brought, I think they're going to struggle twofold, threefold, fourfold with what Ohio State's defense is going to bring. They've been playing great all season long, even limiting the Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza and that Indiana offense to 13, 16 points, I believe, something like that. So they've been playing great all year. I don't think it stops here. I think Ohio State gets back in the win category, and I think that they come out they look great. I think they're going to come out of this round looking like national championship favorites. That's just my personal opinion. I'm going to take Ohio State 31-14. I just think it's going to be too much for the Miami Hurricanes. Good year, but I think it comes to an end here. And I think Ohio State, who was the odds-on favorite throughout most of the year to be the national champions, I think they remind people why they were odds-on favorite to be the national champions, and they put their stamp back on the Miami Hurricanes. Next up, we have the first matchup of the day on New Year's Day. In the Orange Bowl, we have number 5 Oregon versus number 4 Texas Tech. Everyone knew we were getting this matchup. This was a given. Unlike the Miami versus the Texas A&M game, we knew that this was going to happen. We knew Oregon was going to beat James Madison. I'm probably going to make a video about the group of 5 teams not needing to be in the playoffs. We've seen too much of it. It doesn't work. Let's just do away with it. Let's go with the 12 to 16 best teams. No one gets an automatic bid. It's just how the rankings are. Whoever you think the best teams are, put them in, let them run. Even the Tulane head coach, and we'll get to Tulane in just a second when we talk about the main event, he even said that we're not making a good case as to why these teams should be in the playoffs. They know that they can't hang with these big Power 4 schools, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Oregon versus Texas Tech. I think this will be a fun game. But honestly, if I were to be completely honest, these are two teams that I don't know as much about compared to some of these other teams that I've been watching all year. Obviously, the SEC schools and the Big Ten schools. And these are two teams that I just haven't watched a ton all year. But from what I have gathered, I think they're both talented. I think Oregon has a little bit more talent on their team. I think Oregon is super versatile. I like how they can mix it up offensively with the run and passing game. Dante Moore having a really fun year to watch in Oregon. And Dan Lanning is an offensive coach. He's just gotten super creative, getting the ball to those playmakers. And when you look back on their season, their only loss throughout the entire year was to the number one team in the country currently, the Indiana Hoosiers, who have been a shocker to watch this year. So I think Oregon's a fun, stylish team. I think Texas Tech's the opposite. Not that they're not a fun team. I think they're really gritty. I like their defense. I think their offense can get it done when it needs to be happening. But I don't think they've been as battle-tested, honestly, as an Oregon team has. I don't think Texas Tech has faced as hard of a schedule. Obviously, the Big 12 is not what it used to be when you had powerhouses like Texas and Oklahoma in that conference. So yeah, not that Texas Tech's a bad team, but I like Oregon, honestly, in this game. I think Oregon is going to show why they are one of the best teams in the country. Obviously, barely missing out on one of those top 4 spots. I mean, when you're playing in a conference with Ohio State and Indiana, two teams that went undefeated in the regular season, two absolute juggernauts, yeah, you're going to get left out of that game. But, I mean, that's not the end of the world. But I do think that Oregon has been more battle-tested. I like how good they can look on offense. Their defense is one thing that I have questions about, especially when they get to the semifinals. But against a team like Texas Tech, who isn't the flashiest team, I like Oregon. I think I'm going to go Oregon 24-14. I will say, though, I think Texas Tech will have the quote-unquote home field advantage. They're a lot closer to this Orange Bowl game. I think they're going to have a lot of fans there. Oregon obviously traveling from across the country to get to Florida. But I still think this is going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a slow first half, and then I think Oregon eventually breaks away in the second half. Again, just kind of showing the talent that they have on that team compared to a Texas Tech. Kind of similar to a matchup we're going to talk about here in just a second. I think the blue chip 4-star prospects on these teams are really, really going to start shining in these playoff games where the competition is very similar. And I think the pure talent and the pure battle-testedness that some of these teams have faced is really, really going to shine. And I think that's going to be the case here with Oregon. Man, oh man, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a fun one. And I'm going to try to keep my bias out of it and just see it for what the game is. Number 1, Indiana. Number 9, Alabama. This is tough. This is a tough game to predict. It's really close, in my opinion, on paper, but I have a reason as to who I'm going to pick. And let's break it down a little bit. Number 1, Indiana has not lost a game all season long. They've looked great. They have completely 180'd their program around. The Indiana Hoosiers used to be a joke in college football, used to be a straight basketball program. That used to be all they're known for. And then Kirk Cignetti comes around, Fernando Mendoza comes around, and these guys are almost like an island of misfit toys. Like, they were a bunch of transfers from other schools where they didn't feel like they belonged, all transferred to Indiana, and really start putting a magical season together. They played well last season. This season, they really, really put it all together, went undefeated throughout the entire season, won some big games like Oregon, Ohio State. I mean, they've had a great year, but let's be honest, not the greatest schedule. I mean, that Big Ten schedule is very top-heavy in my opinion. Some of those top teams like Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State some years, not this year, but some years Penn State and some years Michigan. Those teams are great on some given years, and then obviously some teams like Ohio State are consistently great every single year. But it's not like the SEC where top to bottom they're filled with great talent and great teams. It really starts to drop off. You have teams like Purdue in that conference, and I mean, that's just one example. But I don't think Indiana has been battle-tested like how Alabama has been battle-tested. And now there was a lot of discussion about whether Alabama should have even been in the playoffs. I, for one, as an Alabama fan, growing up in Alabama my entire life, I thought we did deserve it. And I know it's hard to say that as a 3-loss team, But when you take into consideration that one of those games was the SEC Championship, which is hard to punish them for because it's an extra game they had to play. If Alabama had just opted out of playing in the SEC Championship, no one would have batted an eye at them about being in the playoffs or not. Everyone would have said that they're in. So why punish them for taking an extra game with 11 injuries? And I mean, yes, they got steamrolled, but still, it's the Georgia Bulldogs. Another loss early in the season to Florida State. Terrible loss way back in August. Happened way back in August. Alabama is a different football team. And then you have a third loss to Oklahoma, which was an ugly loss because of the turnover margin. Turned the ball over 3 times, I believe. Still only lost by 2 points. And they just went and avenged that game in the college football playoffs. So I think Alabama had a rightful spot in the college football playoffs. I think the college football committee got it right. But Alabama at points has been shown that they look worse than Indiana. But also, in my opinion, I think there's been points of the season where they look better than Indiana. That middle part of the season where they were playing Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, I mean, that gauntlet that they ran, they looked like the best team in college football. But they've also looked really bad at some points. Obviously, the Florida State game, it's hard to hold that against them. But then you have games like Georgia where they don't look good, and I know I pointed out the injuries, but then you also have the Auburn game, which, I mean, it's the Iron Bowl. It's obviously always a hard game for Bama to play and for Auburn to play, regardless of how good their teams are, but they still didn't look good at points in that game. Even LSU, they just struggled offensively. So I think Alabama has shown to struggle more at points, but I will say, what I think is going to be the difference in this game is the fact that Alabama doesn't have to be perfect. I think Indiana has to be perfect. I think Alabama knows how to get in a dogfight and how to come out on the other side. They just proved it against Oklahoma in the first round of the playoffs. They don't have to play perfect, but if they can rely on some of those blue chip, those 5 stars, those 4 stars who are going to be straight up more talented than a lot of these 3-star guys from Indiana are, I think Indiana's going to have a rude awakening that they just didn't face teams like Alabama in their regular season. And I think Alabama faced a lot of teams like Indiana in that SEC gauntlet. Not saying that they're as good as Indiana, but it's close. I mean, teams like Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Georgia, those teams are good, really good. And I just think that the experience that Bama has had all season long has prepared them for a game like the Rose Bowl where they're going to show that Alabama football is here to stay. So I think Ty Simpson has a great game. I think the running game gets going a little bit more. I think Alabama wins pretty decisively, honestly. I could see it being close through halftime. And I think kind of like the Oklahoma game, I just see Alabama breaking away and making this thing ugly. I'm going to go 38-21 Bama. I think Bama really makes their mark on this game, proves why they're not going anywhere, proves why Kalen DeBoer is the rightful head coach of this Alabama team, and I think they move on. I think they go on a little bit of a run here. So call me biased. Maybe it is. I'm trying my best to just see it for what it is. Give me the Crimson Tide and give me the team who I just think is more talented. I just think the Alabama Crimson Tide are more battle-tested and more talented than this Indiana team. Not that Indiana has proved to not be talented. I think Indiana, if anything, I think they're just a good team. Like, I think that maybe not the individual talent, but I think they've proven to play well as a team together, where at times you've seen people like Ryan Williams struggle with Alabama, the running game struggle at Alabama, but I think the pure talent is enough to put the Tide over in this game. So give me Alabama 38-21. All right, last matchup, the final game, New Year's Day. I love this matchup so much. Even as an Alabama fan, I like this matchup the most out of any game throughout the whole weekend. Georgia, number 3. Ole Miss, number 6. Sugar Bowl, New Orleans, Louisiana. This is the main event to me. I love this game for so many different reasons. To me, people are forgetting how good these two teams are. Two SEC juggernauts. You have Georgia, who lost one game all season to Alabama, and then they went to Atlanta earlier in December and completely erased that loss by stomping on the Alabama Crimson Tide 28-7, completely giving them nothing on offense. And then you have an Ole Miss team, one loss. Guess who that one loss was to? This Georgia team right here. And they barely lost that game. They lost a razor-close game that Ole Miss was winning for most of the game. People are forgetting that Ole Miss was a higher ranked team coming into that game. And that offense came out guns blazing against those Georgia Bulldogs. I love this matchup. I love that it's a rematch. I love the fact that it's in New Orleans. You're going to have two teams who don't have to travel very far. I know Ole Miss is going to pack that sucker out because New Orleans is close to Oxford, not a far drive. And then those Georgia fans are going to travel. They've shown that they'll travel to New Orleans before. I think they're going to do it again. Man, this is just exciting. I'm torn on this game. This is the game I don't know. I still don't even know, like sitting here thinking about it. The other three games, I kind of had an idea who I was going to pick. This game, I don't know. So let's break it down a little bit. 2 words. Lane Kiffin. Let's talk about it. Lane Kiffin leaves the Ole Miss Rebels after their last game of the season to go and take the job for LSU. Completely abandons them. Do I wish he would have waited till after the season? Yes, of course. But, like, the game's a game. It's college football. I mean, whatever. I'm not a big Lane Kiffin person, but it is what it is. Can this Ole Miss team do what they've been doing all season without Lane Kiffin? The short answer is yes. The long answer, well, that's what this video is for. But I thought Ole Miss looked great against Tulane. Obviously, it's Tulane, so there's not much to take away from that. But I still think that Ole Miss has that firepower, and if anything, like obviously Kiffin's not going to be there, but these coaches who have stepped in for Kiffin, like Pete Golding and everyone around him, they've seen what Lane did to make this team successful. So obviously missing Lane Kiffin on the field in those in-game situations is going to hurt, but they still have the recipe. They might not have the chef, but they still have the recipe. And if you can use that recipe to what has been working all year, I really like Ole Miss in this game. But the Georgia Bulldogs, man, they've been playing great football lately. Honestly, they've gotten better as the season progressed. They didn't look great against the Tide, but as the season went on, they picked up wins against Ole Miss, won some hard games. Even the game against Georgia Tech, who is a really game Georgia Tech team, that was a good win. Then you obviously go into Atlanta, Georgia, stomp your foot on Alabama football's neck. I'll say that as an Alabama fan. They stomped Alabama. They've been playing really good football. Really good football. So what I think the key to this is can Georgia slow down the Ole Miss offense? And it was hard for them to in the first matchup. Super high scoring game. I think it was like 45-40, something along those lines. And I don't know if I see Georgia putting up 45 points again. Obviously that points to an Ole Miss defense that isn't as strong as some of these other SEC defenses like the Tide or the Bulldogs or teams like that. But I just don't think Georgia has a good enough offense. They have a good offense. I don't know if it's good enough to put up 45 points again. I see them scoring in the low 30s, high 20s this game. And my question is, can the Ole Miss offense do enough, even without Lane Kiffin, to put them over in this game? And I think they do. I think this might be an upset alert. I think a lot of teams are picking Georgia to go all the way in the national championship. But I love this Ole Miss team. I think they're a super talented team, a firepower offense. And yes, will that defensive identity catch up to them later against maybe a team like an Ohio State or an Alabama? Yeah, I think so. But maybe they proved me wrong in this game. But I've said it multiple times. I really like this Ole Miss team. It'd be such a Cinderella run to see them win the national championship after Lane Kiffin departs. And I could see this game going either way. I'm like 51-49 on this game. I could easily see Georgia winning it. I could easily see the Ole Miss offense struggling without Kiffin. But I think the Ole Miss is going to come out with something to prove. And I think Georgia's going to be the one team that's on their high horse a little bit, coming off of an SEC championship win, haven't played football since December 7th in that SEC championship game. Ole Miss just came off of a win against Tulane. And again, it's Tulane, but it still kept them active, kept them playing football. And I think they're going to roll in here with some momentum. So give me 38-35. I'm going to take the Ole Miss Rebels. And that might come back to bite me. But I think this Ole Miss team is severely underrated compared to some of these teams in the playoffs like Indiana, Ohio State, and Georgia. I think a lot of people are talking about those teams. And I don't think that people are talking about the Ole Miss Rebels enough. But I could be wrong. That's how I see it. That's how I see all 4 of these games. Thank y'all for watching. That leaves me with an Alabama-Oregon matchup and an Ohio State-Ole Miss matchup. Man, that would be cinema. That would be fun to watch. But Maybe I'm wrong. We will see. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank y'all for sticking with me, even though I have not been super consistent. I'm excited to be consistent a little bit. I like the new setup, the light, the background. I like it all. Let's roll into 2026 and have a really good year. And let's have some fun. If you're a college football fan, enjoy these 4 games. I think we're about to get 4 classics right here. So, yeah, enjoy. Happy New Year. Merry late Christmas. I love you guys. Thank y'all for sticking with me. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Let's see what happens in these playoff games. Y'all take care.